Hi, this is Stephanie again. We're coming back with another Peruvian recipe called Saltado de Vainitas con Pollo. This is essentially green beans with chicken. So what I'm planning to do here is to show you the ingredients that we're going to put into the saute as they're going in, and then we'll come back as the saute is going and the onions are getting softer and continue from there. This recipe, I've been doing this one for a long time. It is especially good to use a large recipe, so you can have leftovers. Sometimes saving this and freezing it can make a quick meal. Also, if you're watching your carbs, Xing out the rice that goes with the meal may satisfy the flavor and the fiber and nutrition needs, and just leave the rice off. But I'm also going to include how I am preparing the rice, because the recipe that I use is just kind of a quick little alteration on the normal water, salt, and rice. It's very flavorful, very fragrant, and it's always something that's been repeatedly requested whenever I cook food. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add some canola oil. A few tablespoons, 1 to 3 tablespoons would be good. You just need enough to get the ingredients going here. We're going to add some soy sauce. The recipe calls for about 6 tablespoons. I'm using a little bit more in the way of green beans for this, so I'm going to be using just a little bit more soy sauce. Next is going, and this is a quick and dirty way to do it, because when you look up recipes online, they make it like you have to do certain things separately and then add it together later. So this is kind of consolidating the process so that you're not spending so much time worrying about timing. And this is our ají. 1 tablespoon is equivalent to about 2 peppers. And so I'm going to add just a little bit more than a tablespoon on that one. We're also adding a tablespoon of cumin. So that was a few tablespoons of canola oil, about 6 tablespoons or more of the soy sauce. This is white wine vinegar. That was also about 6 tablespoons, a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of the pepper paste, and a tablespoon of the cumin. And then, for the sake of expediency here, we're going to be putting in, this is an entire red onion. Peru, they really tend to use the Spanish onions, red Spanish onions, a lot more often. And then this is 4 cloves of garlic that's been chopped. All right, so I'm going to get this started, and then we're going to come back with another view of things as they are just about ready to put the chicken in. And so we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, and we have been sauteing this for about 5 to 10 minutes to get things, the onions soft and the garlic ready to go. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in our chicken. The chicken is 1.5 to 2 pounds of cubed chicken. So it's, when it cooks down, it's going to be in bite-sized pieces, and we stir everything together to get it nice and coated. And we're going to let these cook a few minutes, and then we're going to add the remainder of the ingredients and let it simmer. While this is cooking, we're going to address that rice that I was talking about. So this is not necessarily a secret recipe, and it's not necessarily mine. I was given this recipe many years ago, and I'm going to share it with you because everybody loves it. So this is olive oil, and we just add a tablespoon or 2 of the olive oil in the bottom. We're also adding onion powder, comes out to about half a teaspoon on that, and then garlic powder as well. You can also use onion flakes if you can't find the powder. If you really want to go fancy, you can use fresh garlic and fresh onion. We're in the South, so everything gets humid here and sticks together. Also comes out to about a half teaspoon of garlic. So I'm using 1.5 cups of rice, but really you just cook as much as you need. I tend to cook more because when you have a big dish like this, you want to have a lot of rice, so you're not cooking more rice when you don't need it. So all this is going to be covered with water about a finger or two above the line of this rice, and then we're going to cook it on low heat. Tends to take about 25-30 minutes. So we'll fill this with water and then get this stirring again. Turn up the heat a little bit. The chicken only needs to be cooked about 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, not completely cooked through before you add the rest, which is going to be your green beans. I have 3 12-ounce packages of French cut frozen green beans that have been thawed out here. Normally I would use fresh green beans, have not been able to find those lately, so we're just using what we can find. And then this is 4 Roma tomatoes that have been cut into little, like coarsely chopped. The traditional recipes, you'll see they recommend it cut in 8s and long slices. This is really more for just being able to take a bite instead of dealing with a long slice of tomato. The other thing that I do when I'm putting all the ingredients in is I add some water in the bottom of the pan so it can simmer in some water. However, I found that if you use chicken stock or add chicken bouillon to a couple of cups of water, it adds more saltiness and more chicken flavor to the dish. That's not in the traditional recipe. Also, something else you can do once you're done and you're thinking, well, okay, I've added more salt, I have all these other things in there, things aren't quite, I'm just not feeling it. You can add a little extra tomato, like tomato paste, about a tablespoon of that, and get it well mixed in and continue to simmer it, and you'll find that the flavors really come up after that. So we're about ready to start with the rest of this. Like I said, this makes a lot. So if you want to make a smaller amount because you don't want to have a lot of leftovers for later, then just cut the recipe in half. As you can see, you really need a big pan for this when you're making a large recipe. What I used to use was a wok with a lid. That also works really good. I'm going to mix everything over so it really coats the green beans well. See, the colors are really nice. It's really fragrant. I'm sorry, there's no smell-o-vision here. And we're going to add that chicken broth. So this is going to be simmering on medium to low for about 45 minutes. When you cook it low and you cook it for a long time, the flavors really come together good. And this is like a lot of other Peruvian dishes. It really tastes good when you serve it, but the next day when you warm things up again, the flavors have had a chance to really come together and it actually tastes better. So, you know, it's a bonus. We'll come right back. Okay, we're at the final stages and we finished cooking. Both the Saltado de Vainitas con Pollo has been cooked covered, as well as the rice. Now, I realized that when I was adding the garlic powder and the onion powder, I did not add the salt. So just so you know, it was 1.5 teaspoons of salt with this much rice. And this is where we are with our final product. In Peru, they really pride themselves on presentation, and they'll typically will put the rice in a container and pack it kind of tightly and then turn it over onto the plate to make it look nice. And so this is what I used. You can use any small bowl if you want, but this is how the rest of it looks. I ended up not needing to add any extra salt after using the chicken broth or bouillon. So it tastes really good, and I also ended up not needing to add the tomato paste that I had mentioned earlier. Now, I do want to give you another extra secret about cooking rice. And this is not related to this recipe, but it is so good that I wanted to share it with you. So you see here I have, this is the non-stick cooking surface, and if you continue to cook this rice on low and leave it uncovered, as over the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, it will start to brown around the outsides and on the bottom. And you can turn it over as it starts to brown, and you'll get this little crispiness to the rice along with that chewy, satisfying flavor. And it's called concolon. That's another variation on the rice that they use in Peru, and it is absolutely addicting. After you taste this, you're gonna wanna cook concolon almost every time you make rice. Now, the rice that I used today was just a regular long grain white rice, but my favorite really is basmati and jasmine. The reason why is because they are more fragrant rices, and it just adds to the enjoyment of the dish itself. So consider that when you cook your rice, buy some basmati or jasmine rice to cook with these meals, because it's fantastic. So that's it, and thank you for checking this out. Saltado de Vainitas con Pollo, sautéed green beans with chicken. Thanks. Bye.